From a girl who vanished at a pool party to the architect of every nightmare that followed. Some deaths proved anyone could die in Hawkins. Others showed that monsters weren't always the real threat. A few turned villains into heroes at the last second, and one forced audiences to watch the creator of all this horror die without ever earning forgiveness. This is the ranking of Stranger Things' most impactful deaths by emotional weight and narrative significance, starting from a friend left behind and building to the man whose experiments started everything. Level 1. Barb Holland. Barb's death in Season 1 established that Stranger Things would kill beloved characters without warning, creating the show's reputation for brutal unpredictability. Barb Holland appeared in only 3 episodes before her death on November 8, 1983. She attended Steve Harrington's party with Nancy Wheeler despite her reservations. While sitting alone by the pool, she cut her hand trying to shotgun a beer. Nancy told her to go home and went upstairs with Steve. Blood from Barb's wound dripped into the pool water. The Demogorgon grabbed her from behind and dragged her into the Upside Down. She woke in the empty pool's Upside Down version. When she saw the Demogorgon, she tried climbing out. The creature dragged her back down and killed her. In Episode 7, Eleven used a makeshift sensory deprivation tank at Hawkins Middle School, 1,200 pounds of salt, to search for Will and Barb psychically. Eleven found Barb's corpse with a slug-like creature crawling from her mouth. Season 2 addressed the aftermath. Nancy carried guilt over abandoning Barb. With Jonathan Byers and Murray Bauman, Nancy worked to expose Hawkins Lab's involvement. They released Dr. Owen's confession on tape. The lab officially claimed Barb died from experimental chemical asphyxiant exposure, a cover story. Barb's funeral was held by December 15, 1984, at Roan Hill Cemetery. Her gravestone listed an incorrect death date as part of Hawkins Lab's cover-up. Season 4 revisited her death when Vecna tortured Nancy, forcing her to see Barb's decaying body and confronting Nancy's guilt over leaving her friend alone to die. Barb represented complete innocence destroyed. She didn't want to attend the party. She went solely to support Nancy. While Nancy chose popularity and romance, Barb sat alone, feeling abandoned. The Demogorgon targeted her because of blood in the water. Pure bad timing. Unlike Will Byers, who survived 7 days through cleverness and Castle Byers, Barb had no D&D knowledge or survival skills. She died scared and alone, calling for Nancy. Her death served multiple purposes, proving the show would kill sympathetic characters, giving Nancy motivation to investigate Hawkins' lab, and showing the Upside Down was genuinely lethal. The #JusticeForBarb movement exploded because fans saw themselves in her, the nerdy best friend abandoned when popularity called. The show's creators didn't expect her death to resonate so powerfully. Her limited screen time paradoxically made her death more shocking. Audiences barely knew her, but recognized her instantly, the loyal friend who deserved better. Establishes baseline emotional stakes. Proves supporting characters aren't safe, and that loyalty doesn't guarantee survival. Death creates lasting guilt that haunts Nancy across 3 seasons. Barb died alone, but her death taught Hawkins that monsters kill the innocent. The next level proves humans can be just as deadly. Level 2. Benny Hammond. Benny's murder proved the government and human paranoia posed equal threat to supernatural creatures, establishing Hawkins' lab as genuinely dangerous. Benny Hammond owned Benny's Burgers on Randolph Lane in Hawkins. On November 7, 1983, Eleven entered through his back door and stole French fries. Benny caught her, realized she was just a frightened girl, and fed her. He gave her clean clothes and a meal. He noticed 011 tattooed on her forearm. She pointed to herself when he asked about it. Benny called social services, believing Eleven was an abuse victim based on her shaved head, hospital gown, and inability to communicate properly. Agent Connie Frazier arrived, posing as a social worker. When Benny grew suspicious, Frazier calmly pulled out her pistol and shot him in the head. His body was discovered November 8, 1983, by Hawkins police. The lab staged the scene as suicide. Chief Hopper later pieced together Benny's death wasn't self-inflicted based on evidence inconsistencies. Eleven used cutlery to kill one of the agents during her escape from the diner. The original plan was more brutal. Netflix ordered the Duffer Brothers to cut the shot showing the bullet going through Benny's head. Benny's death was colder than any Demogorgon kill. The creature operated on instinct and hunger. Connie Frazier murdered Benny with calculation, eliminating a witness to protect Hawkins' lab secrets. His kindness made his death crueler. He helped a scared child. That compassion got him executed. The scene taught Eleven that trust was dangerous. When she later met Hopper, she feared he'd die like Benny. The staged suicide showed the lab's power. They could kill an innocent man and make it look self-inflicted. Local authorities accepted the lie initially. Only Hopper's investigation revealed the truth. Unlike Barb, whose death came from supernatural bad luck, Benny died because humans chose murder over mercy. His death was the show's first truly evil act, not from monsters, but from people. The Duffer Brothers planned to have Benny die earlier in the season with a less fleshed-out character, but they developed him more, making his eventual death hit harder. First human-caused death establishes dual threats, proves Hawkins' lab operates without morality, creates Eleven's initial distrust of authority figures, and demonstrates that human evil can be colder than monster violence. If you're enjoying this breakdown, hit subscribe and turn on notifications for Season 5 theories and analysis. Benny died from a bullet, not a creature. But the next death proves heroism doesn't require weapons, just heart. Level 3. Bob Newby. Bob Newby's death in Season 2 destroyed audiences because he represented normalcy and hope, then died heroically mere feet from safety. Bob Newby worked as manager at Radio Shack. He dated Joyce Byers in 1984, acting as a father figure to Will and Jonathan. Bob was originally planned to die earlier in the season, but Sean Astin's performance convinced the writers to keep him longer. When Will began having visions and seizures connected to the Mind Flayer in October 1984, Bob stayed supportive. Bob figured out Will's drawings formed a map of Hawkins, which saved Hopper from dying in the tunnels. On November 4, 1984, the group brought Will to Hawkins' lab when he collapsed. Demodogs attacked the facility. Power went out, trapping Bob, Joyce, Will, Mike, Hopper, and Dr. Owens in a control room. Someone needed to reach the basement to flip the breakers and unlock doors. Bob volunteered. He succeeded in restoring power and opening the exit. Bob navigated through the lab, barely escaping Demodogs. He made it to the entrance where Joyce and Hopper waited. Just as Bob seemed safe, a Demodog attacked from the side, completely unexpected. Multiple Demodogs pounced and mauled Bob to death. Joyce reached Bob first, while Hopper covered their retreat from further Demodog danger. He died in Episode 8, The Mind Flayer. Will drew Bob as a superhero afterward, with the words, "Bob Newby's superhero," hung on the Byers refrigerator. Bob's death worked because he earned his hero moment. He wasn't a badass like Hopper or scientifically brilliant like Dustin. Bob was just a good guy who loved Joyce and wanted her family safe. His Radio Shack expertise made him valuable. He understood the lab's systems when no one else could. The delayed death made it worse. Audiences saw him running through hallways, surviving near misses. When he reached the entrance with Joyce visible through the glass, it seemed he'd make it. The Demodog attacking from off-screen felt cruel. Death came when safety was literally 5 feet away. The show taught that heroism doesn't guarantee survival. Bob sacrificed himself the moment he told Hopper, "Don't wait for me." He knew the risks. Unlike Barb's random bad luck or Benny's murder, Bob chose his fate. The Duffer Brothers confirmed his death was always planned, but kept pushing it back because they loved working with Astin and loved Bob's character. Season 3 referenced Bob repeatedly. Joyce kept his picture, and she thought of him when returning to the lab in 1985. First planned heroic sacrifice that hits emotionally because character earned audience love through multiple episodes. Establishes that goodness and bravery don't guarantee survival. Death serves narrative purpose, motivating Joyce while demonstrating Mind Flayer's real danger. Bob died a hero's death, but dying 5 feet from safety hurt. Next level trades Slurpees and laughter for tragedy. Level 4. Alexei. Alexei's death devastated fans because he transformed from villain to innocent in mere episodes, then died during his happiest moment. Dr. Alexei was a Russian scientist forced to work on the key machine beneath Starcourt Mall in 1985. His supervisor was executed by Grigory when the key failed in Russia. Alexei and colleagues received 1 year to make the machine work in Hawkins. On June 28, 1985, the Soviets successfully opened a new gate. Hopper and Joyce kidnapped Alexei while investigating power outages. They took him to Murray Bauman for translation. Alexei initially refused to cooperate unless he got cherry Slurpees. When they brought wrong flavors, he wouldn't help until receiving the correct one. Through Murray's translations, Alexei explained the Russians' operations and the keys needed to destroy the machine. He revealed the gate was opening another world, the Upside Down. Alexei developed childlike enthusiasm for American culture. He loved Woody Woodpecker cartoons and Looney Tunes. After calling Dr. Owens for backup, the group headed to the 4th of July Fun Fair. Murray took Alexei to experience the carnival. Alexei was determined to beat rigged games, and succeeded, winning a giant stuffed Woody Woodpecker. As he walked toward Murray with his prize, completely happy, Grigory shot him from the crowd. Alexei died in episode 7, The Bite. Murray tried getting help, but Alexei was already dead when Joyce reached them. Alexei's death hurt because of timing. He finally embraced defection. He'd chosen friendship over fear. The carnival represented his first taste of American freedom. Games, prizes, joy. Grigory murdered him at his happiest moment, clutching a cartoon character he loved. Alexei hadn't committed real crimes. He was a scientist forced to work under death threats. His initial stubbornness about Slurpees showed self-preservation, not malice. Once he trusted Hopper, Joyce, and Murray, he became genuinely helpful. His childlike wonder at simple pleasures made him endearing. Alexei understood English, but relied on Murray to speak for him due to discomfort and caution, making Murray his only real voice. Audiences loved Alexei instantly. The hashtag Justice for Alexei movement mirrored hashtag Justice for Barb years earlier. Fans demanded he deserved better, his own Slurpee machine at minimum. The Duffer Brothers followed their pattern, introducing a lovable character and killing them same season. Alexei represented innocence trapped in war. He just wanted cartoons and cherry Slurpees. He got a bullet. Transforms antagonist into sympathetic victim through personality and circumstance. Death occurs at moment of pure joy, maximizing emotional impact. Proves even enemy soldiers can be victims of larger forces, and that choosing the right side doesn't guarantee protection. Drop a comment. Which death hit you hardest? We haven't reached the most controversial yet. Alexei wanted freedom and friendship. Billy wanted redemption, and he got it at a terrible cost. Level 5. Billy Hargrove. Billy's sacrifice redeemed his character, but sparked debate because abuse victims questioned whether one heroic moment erased seasons of cruelty. Billy Hargrove, introduced in Season 2, was Max's abusive stepbrother. He bullied Max, threatened Lucas with racism, and nearly beat Steve to death. Season 3 revealed his abuse stemmed from his own father's violence. On June 28, 1985, the Mind Flayer selected Billy for possession after observing his rage and trauma. The entity infected Billy with particles, taking control. Billy became the Mind Flayer's primary host, maintaining some autonomy unlike others who dissolved into biomass. Billy abducted townspeople, including his co-worker Heather Holloway. These victims melted into the biomass, forming the Mind Flayer's proxy body. During the Battle of Starcourt on July 4, 1985, the spider monster attacked Eleven after her powers failed. Billy grabbed Eleven, preparing to deliver her to the Mind Flayer. Eleven accessed Billy's memories psychically, showing him his mother and childhood at the beach before his father's abuse. A single tear ran down Billy's cheek. As the Mind Flayer's tentacle tongue lunged for Eleven, Billy stood between them. He caught the creature's appendage, stopping the attack. The Mind Flayer stabbed Billy repeatedly through the chest. Billy bought time for Joyce to turn the keys and shut down the machine powering the gate, killing the Mind Flayer. Billy died in Max's arms. Season 4 revealed Max struggled with survivor's guilt and trauma, making her vulnerable to Vecna. Billy's gravestone became a focal point of Max's grief. Billy's redemption divided fans. He was genuinely terrible in Season 2, racist, violent, abusive to Max. The show revealed explanations, not excuses. His father beat him. His mother abandoned him. Billy became his father, perpetuating abuse cycles. Possession made him the Mind Flayer's tool, but the entity chose him specifically because of existing trauma and rage. His sacrifice came during his only truly selfless moment. Eleven showed him memories of love, his mother, the beach, innocence before corruption. That image broke through possession. Billy protecting Eleven meant choosing love over violence for the first time. The sacrifice didn't erase his past. Max spent Season 4 processing that Billy was both her abuser and someone who saved her friend. The show didn't demand forgiveness. Max's Dear Billy episode explored her complex feelings. She couldn't forgive him fully, but she regretted their missed chance at connection. Billy's death served two narratives, closing the Season 3 gate and opening Max's Season 4 trauma. The Duffer Brothers confirmed Billy was always meant to die. Redemption through death is controversial. Some fans felt it was the only appropriate end. Others felt it cheapened his victims' experiences. Controversial redemption death that services multiple narrative arcs demonstrates that abuse victims can break cycles in final moments while acknowledging that heroism doesn't erase harm caused. Death creates multi-season impact on surviving characters, and proves villains can choose good when facing their own humanity. Billy broke free for one moment, but the next death created a legend from a misunderstood kid. Level 6. Eddie Munson. Eddie Munson's death galvanized fans because he embodied being falsely accused, fought for a town that hated him, and sacrificed himself to prove he wasn't a coward. Eddie Munson led Hawkins High's Hellfire Club and played guitar in his band Corroded Coffin. On Mampshire 21, 1986, Chrissy Cunningham came to Eddie's trailer seeking drugs to stop her hallucinations. Vecna killed Chrissy in front of Eddie. Her body levitated, bones snapped, eyes crushed. Eddie fled, becoming the prime suspect in what the town called the Munson murders. Jason Carver, Chrissy's boyfriend, led a hunt for Eddie, believing him guilty. Eddie hid at Reefer Rick's lake house, eventually joining forces with Dustin, Mike, Lucas, Nancy, Steve, and Robin. On March 27, 1986, the group executed a plan to attack Vecna. Eddie and Dustin's job was distracting Demobats away from the Creel house. From his trailer's roof in the Upside Down, Eddie played Metallica's Master of Puppets at full volume. He declared, "Chrissy, this is for you," before the guitar solo. The Demobats swarmed them. Eddie and Dustin retreated into the trailer. When bats broke through, they escaped through the gate back to Hawkins. Eddie, haunted by his perceived cowardice throughout the season, cut the rope between dimensions. He rode his bike back outside, drawing the swarm away from Dustin and the gate. The Demobats attacked Eddie. He was mauled to death. Dustin found him dying. Eddie's final words were, "I didn't run away this time, right?" He died in Dustin's arms. Later, Dustin told Eddie's uncle Wayne that Eddie died a hero, though Hawkins never knew the truth. The town still believed Eddie was a murderer. Eddie's death represented false martyrdom. He died saving the town while the town blamed him for murders he didn't commit. His entire arc revolved around running away versus standing ground. He admitted to being a coward, running from Chrissy's death, hiding while others investigated. His final stand proved to himself that he could be brave. Cutting the rope was his defining choice. Dustin was safe in Hawkins. The plan worked. Eddie could have survived, but Eddie saw the Demobats coming. He knew they'd return to the Creel house if not distracted longer. His sacrifice bought precious minutes. The Duffer Brothers confirmed Eddie was always destined to die, with that arc built for him. Joseph Quinn's portrayal made Eddie instantly beloved. His theatrical personality, his guitar skills, his protectiveness over younger Hellfire members. Fans mourned because Eddie represented every misunderstood kid. Vecna killed Chrissy, Fred, and Patrick, but Eddie took the blame. He spent his final days hunted, feared, and hated. He died proving his bravery to the only person whose opinion mattered, himself. His death also impacted Dustin deeply, becoming a major focus for Season 5, according to the Duffer Brothers. Unlike Bob's death 5 feet from safety, or Alexei's death during happiness, Eddie died achieving exactly what he wanted, proving he wasn't a coward. Creates modern martyr from misunderstood outcast. Death resonates because character dies, proving his worth to himself, while town remains ignorant of his heroism. Sacrifice transforms cowardice narrative into courage. Impact extends beyond death into living characters' trauma and establishes fan favorite who becomes legendary despite single-season appearance. Eddie became a hero nobody saw, but our final death forces us to watch the Nightmare's architect fall without redemption. Level 7. Dr. Martin Brenner. Dr. Brenner's death was the most significant because he caused every tragedy in Hawkins, yet died seeking forgiveness he never earned, forcing audiences to confront whether monsters are born or created. Dr. Martin Brenner directed Hawkins National Laboratory and oversaw Project MK Ultra experiments. He raised test subjects, children with psychic abilities, in his lab. Brenner took Henry after the Creel murders in 1959, when Henry was 12, and began experimenting on him. Brenner implanted a device called Soteria in Henry's neck, suppressing his abilities while Brenner studied him. On September 8, 1979, 11 removed the Soteria at Henry's manipulation. Henry, designated 001, massacred 16 children in the lab. 11 fought back and sent Henry through a rift into the Upside Down, where over time he evolved into Vecna. Brenner was attacked by the Demogorgon on November 13, 1983, during Season 1's finale. He survived the attack, gaining a facial scar. After Hawkins' lab's closure, Brenner established a secret facility in Nevada's desert to continue experiments. When 11 lost her powers in 1985, Brenner created the Nina Project, using sensory deprivation to help 11 relive memories and restore abilities. By March 1986, the project succeeded. Lieutenant Colonel Jack Sullivan raided the facility, seeking 11. Brenner attempted escaping with 11 into the desert. A sniper in a helicopter shot Brenner multiple times. Brenner was struck by multiple gunshots and bled out in the desert. In his final moments, he begged 11 for forgiveness and understanding, claiming he cared for her. 11 refused to comfort him or grant forgiveness, ending their relationship with the cold finality of, "Goodbye, Papa." This occurred in Season 4, Episode 8, Papa. Brenner's death mattered most because he created the entire nightmare. Without Brenner, there's no 11, no opened gate, no Vecna in the Upside Down, no Demogorgons in Hawkins. Every death traces back to his experiments. He took vulnerable children, stripped their identities, forced them to call him Papa while subjecting them to trauma and testing. He let Henry's father rot in an asylum for murders Henry committed. He manipulated 11 from birth. He viewed children as test subjects, not humans. His return in Season 4 showed he'd learned nothing. He drugged 11, put a shock collar on her, and refused to let her leave even when she'd regained her powers. His final plea for understanding revealed his delusion. He genuinely believed he deserved forgiveness. He thought his care was real, despite the abuse. 11's silence was powerful. She didn't grant him peace. She let him die, knowing she'd never forgive him. Brenner's death wasn't heroic or redemptive. A government sniper killed him while he fled. No dramatic confrontation with the monsters he'd unleashed. No facing Vecna, the child he'd failed. Just bullets in the desert. Matthew Modine, who played Brenner, expressed hope the character wasn't really dead, suggesting Brenner might possess abilities. The Duffer Brothers confirmed he's dead for real this time, calling him Toast. Brenner represented institutional evil, the authority figure who commits atrocities under the guise of science and national security. His death didn't feel satisfying because he died without accountability. He never faced the other test subjects. He never had to watch what Vecna became because of his failures. He died believing his love for 11 was real, never accepting that love doesn't coexist with experimentation and control. Highest narrative impact death, because character caused every tragedy, dies without redemption or accountability, forcing audience to process that evil doesn't always get dramatic punishment. Death demonstrates that institutional villains rarely face their victims, and that absence of forgiveness can be more powerful than revenge. Leaves unresolved trauma intentionally, showing that some wrongs can't be righted by death. Deaths in Stranger Things progressed from innocent bystanders to orchestrators of evil. Simplest involved random fate and bad timing. Most complex forced audiences to question whether anyone deserves redemption. Pattern reveals escalating significance. Barb established unpredictability. Benny showed human evil. Bob created the heroic sacrifice template. Alexei transformed enemies into victims. Billy asked whether abuse victims can break cycles through final choices. Eddie made martyrs of the falsely accused. Brenner proved that architects of horror can die without ever understanding their crimes. Each level built on foundations. Barb proved death was random. Benny proved humans were dangerous as monsters. Bob proved heroism was real. Alexei proved enemies were human. Billy proved villains could choose good. Eddie proved cowards could be brave. Brenner proved that evil dies without wisdom. Origins varied. Some died from circumstance, wrong place, wrong time. Others from choices, heroism, defection, redemption. One died fleeing consequences he never accepted. What makes these deaths devastating isn't violence. Each level removed something from Hawkins. Barb removed innocence, the idea that good people survive. Benny removed trust, showing protection doesn't exist. Bob removed hope, proving love won't save you. Alexei removed joy, happiness is temporary. Billy removed certainty about villains. Abuse creates complex victims. Eddie removed justice. The town never knew his truth. Brenner removed closure. Evil dies without answering for itself. Season 5 will determine how these deaths matter. Will Brenner's legacy finally face justice through Vecna's defeat? Will Eddie's uncle ever learn the truth? Will Max escape the trauma Billy's death created? Questions aren't just about what happened. They're about whether Hawkins can heal from losses that shaped everyone who survived. 7 levels represent innocence to accountability journey. Started with girl at a pool who died alone, ended with the man who started it all, dying without understanding that the love he believed he gave was abuse. The scariest part isn't how they died. It's knowing Season 5 might prove these deaths were only the beginning. If this breakdown helped you understand Stranger Things' most impactful deaths, subscribe for complete Season 5 coverage, theories, and analysis when final episodes drop.